Stand in the back.
Can I, before we begin, would just like to remember a lifelong Newburyport who died, Ward 6 resident Mike Curran. And anyone who's lived here more than a few years probably bought their insurance from him. He was before he retired, he worked for Arthur S. Page selling insurance. So Mike died this past week. Just like a moment of silence for him, please. Thank you. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Go through the roll call for City Council meeting June 26, 2017.
Councilor Devlin. Present. Councilor Earl.
Present.
Councilor Eigenman is absent. Councilor Junta.
Present.
Councilor Tonta.
Present.
Councilor Vogel.
Present.
Councilor Z.
Present.
Councilor Cameron. Acting remotely. Councilor Connell. He's having some difficulty. He is marked absent at present. Councilor Cronin.
Present.
Council President O'Brien.
Here.
We have a quorum, Mr. President.
Late file items.
There are no late file items.
Mayor's update, Mr. Clerk.
Excuse me, I meant to say there is one late file, Mr. President, Mayor's update.
Motion to waive the rules and accept the late file items.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Mr. President,
Yes.
may I make a motion to waive the dial-in rule for all procedural votes, such as removing from committee, accepting late file items, but not for substantive votes on actual orders or ordinances?
There a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Council vote.
I'd like to make an amendment, if I may, to that motion that we go ahead and allow the general call for a vote, and unless there's a split vote, or we just allow that the dial-in have a very specific vote, that certainly would save a lot of time.
Okay. Right here.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
I know.
Hey, we lose the session.
You're a board freshman?
Yes.
Just remind people, public comment is limited to 2 minutes per speaker. First one is Alvin. Council Cronin?
That's directed towards the clerk. Do I have to step away from this if it's not in front of us?
I don't think so, Councilor. Matters really not before us, just comment.
Okay, thank you.
President O'Brien and honorable councilmen, today is a very good day. It's a great day for the residents of Merrimack because they were granted their constitutional rights to vote on a special election for a ballot about recreational drug marijuana, which has been approved last election in November by the state and everybody in the Commonwealth, yet they had the chance to have a ballot and vote on it. Those fortunate residents, also 2 months ago, their elected leaders allowed them to vote in a ballot should they build a new police station or not, which they rejected. Our neighbors in Newbury, the town of Newbury residents were allowed also a ballot to vote should they build a new police station or not, and they allowed it. Several cities and towns in the Commonwealth, if their leaders are going to take more than $1 million in bonds, it goes in the ballot. Yet, we're going to be paying at least $5 million in bond, which can go up to $10 million once we know the 100% cost. And yet, the residents of Newburyport persistently and constantly denied their constitutional right to vote. I'm asking kindly and respectfully that the council will take the two major issues which could change Newburyport forever, for good or bad, and on the ballot, that every resident, their voice can be heard. I understand the city solicitor rejected it, and he said it's illegal in the form it was submitted and the way it was worded. However, he did not reject the notion that we have the right for a ballot, and he did not reject the notion or the substance that the garage issue and waterfront west zoning change can go on the ballot if the council will have it worded in a legal way acceptable to the city and the city solicitor. Thank you.
Thank you.
Samantha Moore?
Hello, I'm Amantha Moore. I live at 10 North Atkinson Street, and I'm here to talk a little bit about the CPA funding that is coming up to very soon. I'm a member of Central Congregational Church, which is the brick church right out the door to your right as you go out the front door. And we have applied for CPA funding, for which we are very grateful for the opportunity. And I know that it's coming before your council very soon, and I hope that you will take into account the need for another steeple in town to be repaired. Ours isn't in, we don't think it's in horrible condition right now, but we've had it inspected, and we did put in a proposal for the CPA to get $100,000, which I do not believe that the recommendation is for that full amount, but we're grateful for anything that we can get. We believe that our steeple is important for the city. It's part of the view from across the river, or even from other areas coming into town. You can see all the different steeples in town. I think it reflects the history of the community. And that building also houses a vibrant congregation that provides a lot of social services for organizations in the community and the area. So I hope that you will think favorably when you see the applications come through your hands and the recommendations from the CPC. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Stephen Cumley.
My name is Stephen Conley Sr., and I'm the founder of We the People, National Whistleblower Protection Organization that we founded in 1987 to bring accurate information about nuclear concerns. And what got me started in it was my family's been in the nursing home profession for over 80 years in Massachusetts. And we're no stranger to, my family's no stranger to Newburyport either. My father was born here on Buck Street, and my great-grandfather planted most of the trees around the high school and brought over some of the original plants in the United States. Well, what got me involved was when I was running our home, my son runs it now. He's there for 24 years now, fourth generation. It's a family-owned home in Raleigh. And I had one of our nurses call me at my office, and she said, "You're gonna come down and see Jean right away." And I said, "What's the matter?" And she says, she's almost in tears. And that's Jean right there. And I went down and I saw Jean. I said, "What's wrong, Jean?" She says, "I've been reading the Boston Globe about the Chernobyl accident in Russia, and the plume from the accident came as far as Vermont and affected our cow's milk in Vermont. And the plant, the Fukushima plant in Japan, if you don't know, affected the air in mass. In the industry, and the owners of Seabrook, and the Nuclear Regulatory Commission, who is a federal agency, who's supposed to make sure the plants are safe, tell mainstream that if you're outside the 10-mile radius, you're fine." Well, Jean said to me, "You know, I'm paralyzed. Mr. Conley, I can't be moved if there's an accident at the Seabrook plant, which is only 12 miles from your nursing home. What's the evacuation plan for me?" I said, "Jean, I don't know, but I'll go find out." So I went over to the plant, and PSNH owned it then, And they told me they didn't have an evacuation plan for her. And I said, well, you can't open the plant then, because I'm licensed as you are, as a nursing home administrator, by the federal government and the state government, provide adequate evacuation plans for everybody, not just for the people that can run. So they said, well, you got to go see the Nuclear Regulatory Commission. And I said, who are they? Oh, they're a federal agency. They make sure the plants are safe. And I said, well, it looks like they haven't been by here lately because you don't have one for everybody. So I'm back home, and I wasn't too long out of college then. I remember that my college professors always encouraged me to stand up for what I believe in when I know something's wrong. I know something's wrong here. So being a life member of the Republican Inner Circle, and I still am, I figured Reagan would see me just being an Inner Circle member. But if I get more than 51% of the town of Raleigh on a petition, he has to see me as President of the United States. We got 80%, and he wouldn't see me. So from there, I've been investigating the Nuclear Regulatory Commission for coming up 31 years. And so I formed We the People, and got national media attention, which I didn't think was a big deal then, but it was. And because of the national media attention only, Mr. Victor Stello, former executive director of the whole NRC, would meet with me, but he wrote to me. And this is in place at every nuclear power plant in the United States, including Seabrook. For the few individual residents that can't be moved in the event of a nuclear disaster because of special needs, we suggest you leave her behind and give her a bottle of potassium iodide to drink, to be administered by a volunteer willing to stay behind during an accident. And let me assure you, those people are hard to recruit. So that's how it started. And then I got informants called me from the NRC. And they said, we got to meet.
Could you wrap it up, please, sir? You're 2 minutes. It's been 5 minutes now, so.
5 minutes? Okay.
No,
Well,
not 5
anyway,
minutes. You have to wrap it up.
I got evidence sent to me that were counterfeit substandard parts built in most of the plants in the United States, including Seabrook. And because I brought it out, the United States Justice Department, hired by the NRC, came after me, and I was in mass federal court for 6 years with a charge of conspiracy to topple the Nuclear Regulatory Commission with Roger Fortuna, the deputy director of the NRC's Office of Investigations. Now, what I would like very much to do, and I really appreciate you giving me the opportunity to speak before you. I went to Georgetown Selectmen, met with them about 3 weeks ago.
Okay, your time's up, sir. Thank you. Thank you.
I'm sorry?
Your time's up. This is public comment. It's a 2-minute comment. You've gone 5. Time is up.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, that's the material for you. I think you know that. And I would like very much for you to consider doing what Georgetown, it looks like Ipswich is going to do it, to write a letter to the NRC asking them to hold a first responder hearing so they can testify. And I'll be going to the other towns in New Hampshire and also Mass. But just trying to prove democracy still works in this country, and we want to say in this important issue. So I appreciate your time, and if you have any questions, I know that we're on the agenda for communication, agenda 9, so if you have any questions, and I have packets here for all of you, and plus the public if they're interested. Thanks a lot, Chairman.
Oh. Linda Lambert.
Linda Lambert, 58 Merrimack, Horton's Yard. And I'm in favor of the City Council accepting the ballot questions on the garage in Waterfront West. The central idea of the petitions is that the citizens of Newburyport have the option to cast a vote either for or against. I spent 30 years in a community where all the decisions, all the budgets, all the expenditures, whether a new school was built or whether a new fire truck was purchased, all came before the citizens in the form of a ballot, and they voted on it every year. And a lot of those ballot questions that came up every year were through the process of a petition. I think that the citizens really want to say in these projects, and it took seeing how anxious people were to sign them to really appreciate how passionate they are about feeling that they have a voice. Having said that, if you don't think that you can move forward with these ballot petitions, if it's not legal, if there's no way that you feel that you can do it, then I would respectfully request that as councilors, you listen to your respective wards or the community as a whole, and as the process moves forward on both of these projects, that all of your votes on these issues truly represent the public's majority opinion on them. Thank you very much.
Nancy Earls?
Hello, I'm Nancy Earls. I live at 25 Milk Street, Newburyport. Just here to speak about the CPC recommendations that are going to be coming before you, particularly the community building at Kelleher Gardens. This is a project that is near and dear to me. I work very closely with the children and families there, and this is a project that I've been complaining about and whining and carrying on about for almost 20 years. There's some people here who will be very happy to hear me stop that. But
No, we always enjoyed your voice, Nancy.
yeah, I'm positive.
That's why he's alone down there.
So I just wanted to take this opportunity to thank the CPC for their generosity in recommending us, and to thank the council for their consideration. And it's a project that the proposal was written really exclusively by the residents, and we've enjoyed the full support of the Housing Authority, including our new executive director, as well as our recently retired one, and including the board of directors at the Housing Authority. So I just wanted to thank you so much for your consideration.
Thank you. Thank you. Mayor's comment?
Thank you. Good evening, President O'Brien, members of the City Council that are here, and those who are calling in remotely. I'd like to give you my update. Last meeting, I did not do a formal update because of the intensity of our agenda, plus the budget, et cetera, et cetera. So this one is a little thick, but I will move through it fairly quickly. First and foremost, my sincerest thanks to all the members of the City Council for the unanimous passage of the FY18 budget. I think, and the city's budget takes effect July 1st. We're certainly in a much better position than the state, which the legislature just passed a supplemental $5 billion budget to keep the state running past July 1 because they cannot resolve the FY18 budget at that point. In terms of our city budget, it was probably the first time that I can recall, and it might be on the records, that there was never a single cut in the mayor's budget from the city council. And I know that it was the result of a very, very comprehensive budget work with the department heads and your due diligence as you went through your review and your workshops on the budget. So thank you for that. The projected $40.3 billion state budget for FY18, as I said, is still in process. We are concerned about the consistent message about decreased in tax revenue for the state. As part of the local government advisory board for the MMA, had the opportunity to meet at the State House with Lieutenant Governor Polito, Sean Cronin, Senior Deputy Commissioner of Local Services, and Dominique Ayano from A&F. And we really strongly advocated as mayors and managers and selectmen and school committee members for the importance of retaining local aid at the level it is. We still haven't recovered from the cuts of '07, and local aid, including Chapter 70 funding for the schools, is very, very critical for communities. And our message was well received by the Lieutenant Governor and the staff that were with her. Department of Public Services, as you know, the hydrant bids for Plum Island came in much higher than we had anticipated. We had estimated somewhere between like $1.92 million, and the lowest bid came in at 2.9. We had 5 bids and ranging from 2.9 to 3.65. But as with all of the RFPs, DPS works very diligently in pricing these, and they use a consultant team also to help with pricing out the project. But we've been experiencing higher than average bids coming in all across the region. We're not alone in that because of the specialized nature of some of these contracts. For the bulk of the work is the hydrant assemblies, and those came in at $600,000 higher than expected. I know that John Eric White and the DPS Deputy Director submitted some additional information to you in a bid comparison about our pricing and what came in. Hopefully that helps to answer some of the questions. We also will still need over and above the bid contract to have a resident engineer out on Plum Island as we open up these areas and replace the hydrants. We really need to have a resident engineer out there monitoring this work. And the estimate is between $100,000 to $145,000, depending on the length of the contract. The Water and Sewer Commission first has to review the bids and where the process going forward, and then that will be followed by a City Council vote to approve transfer of the funding from the Plum Island Trust Fund settlement. We hope to schedule that meeting during the week of July 10th. The settlement was a hard-fought one and was specifically established to repair, replace the subgrade and defective materials in the water system and hydrant system. I also want to just remind you that we have an additional $750,000 being released by the AG's office as an escrow agreement, if you'll recall, at the end of August, early September. The Plum Island airbag system, the airbag has been on site this week to complete the final installing the alarm system. Evergreen development and well drilling. Work was on hold last week as we were waiting for a special 8-inch screen that had to be custom made in Texas. I believe it arrived today, and that the work will continue to proceed. Unfortunately, there is just not a way to pull all of this information together before the planning board meets on July 5th. But I'm working with DPS to schedule a meeting with the Water and Sewer Commission and all those interested in discussing the findings or the status to date of what's happening with Evergreen. Wastewater treatment facility. Methuen Construction has mobilized and is holding their first of 7 construction progress meetings later this week. We had a neighborhood meeting, which I know councilors had presented some information to you at your last meeting, which was to review the project status as well. And I also submitted from Chris Pratt, the chief operator of the plant, an attachment to this update about all of the odor controls that have been instituted to date. I thought the meeting that was held with the neighborhood went very, very well, and we have a new email for odor complaints that is being monitored on smartphones, but I'm happy to say that there has not been a single odor complaint in months. Ongoing progress reports on the construction will continue to be posted on the DPS Sewer Department website. Draft Road Lift Station, Methuen Construction had received notice to proceed on June 8th, and that project will begin going forward. We're essentially down to a punch list on the Parker Street sidewalk. On drainage projects, we're in design process for Malcolm Point and are looking at reviewing flood elevations to determine the appropriate height of the road. Tilton Street is in final design, which is under review by DPS, and they've completed the test pits to identify all utilities. Noble Street, the design will begin in-house late summer. Phillips Drive, we have a student who will be working with us on a hydrology study. Some clearing has occurred by DPS out there. We've had mosquito control out there to assess the status of the culverts and clearing, and I have just received reports from the neighborhood detailing all the flooding and stormwater individual issues of homeowners. There is a follow-up meeting scheduled this Thursday. The West End easement for sewer access, the draft order has been received from KP Law, and we're waiting on one final easement to be received, and that will be coming before the City Council. Stormwater. The city has been working on each level of the EPA storm level permits for many years, and now, as of July 1st, we are faced with what's referred to as the MS4 permit. And we are required to submit a notice of intent to the feds and the state by September 1st. This has been a multi-year process in terms of working on stormwater issues, and I would recommend that towards the latter part of August that we pull together a workshop to update the City Council on stormwater issues. There's a lot of issues that we are going to be required to do under another unfunded mandate, and we need to figure out as a community how we're going to address some of these major stormwater challenges ahead of us. Parks and fountains, a water line was damaged when they put in the new public restrooms at Cashman, and it cut the water line to the bubbler. As soon as they finish up, hopefully this end of this week, the Hale Street project, the water crew will head over there and fix that line. The in-street fountain blew a pump last week, and that was why it was down for several hours over the course of a couple days. I've asked the Parks Commission to just keep us in more timely communication when things like that happen. 115 Water Street, we received 3 proposals for the reuse of this property. If you recall, some of you were on the council at the time, it was originally taken by the city for staging for the wastewater treatment construction, as well as the site for the new OCL building. Elements of one of the proposals provide a kayak storage and direct launch access from the site to the river, and the other is a small business proposal. So we're hoping to find a way to combine these 2 proposals, and we are encouraging the 2 bidders to meet and try and iron out some of the issues. Please recall that the surplus of this property has been an ongoing topic for the past several years, with periodic updates and addresses to this council. RFPs are typically issued, bids are received, a team reviews the proposals, followed by a public meeting. Similarly, on the Brown School, we've also received 3 proposals on the adaptive reuse of this building and have begun the team review for residential use with renovations to upgrade youth services. We've had at least 4 community meetings and 2 following the Winter Street architects doing their feasibility study. Once this review of the proposals is complete, we've asked all 3 bidders to come back with additional information. We will again meet with the neighborhood to discuss their findings, and issues being reviewed include the need for youth services, sale versus rentals, number of units, park access for the neighborhood, and parking. On the Waterfront Trust, the Newburyport Redevelopment Authority Settlers and City meeting, following the completion of the City Council's ad hoc committee, the city was charged with picking up the process from that point to build further consensus and to rewrite the trust documents. We've had representatives of the stakeholders at 3 meetings to date, and I am happy to report that we have reached consensus. Upon the dissolution of the NRA, the majority of the land will be conveyed to the Waterfront Trust, with the back patio going to the firehouse and the green behind the Custom House to the Custom House. We're still trying to figure out the pop-up park in terms of reserving that for the future visitor center and public restrooms, but we'll continue to work through some of those issues. Our next meeting in July 11th will focus on our finances and funding the park, funding the Waterfront Trust, and looking at Article 97 rules and fees for parklands. The issues of filled tidelands and ownership continues to still be under review, and the NRA has contracted with an attorney by the name of Jamie McDega, who has a strong background and expertise in this area. The NRA is expecting a report from them by the end of August. And following the finance meeting mid-July, I know I've had a couple requests from people who have been participating in these meetings to have a larger public meeting, and we've had to have some smaller working meetings, but after we do the finance meeting on the 11th, there will be another full public meeting with all the stakeholders. Before you tonight is the information on the police supervisor's contract. We are very pleased to present this contract that has been negotiated for the next 3 years. It became pretty clear to us as we began reviewing this contract that our salaries, our base salaries, were significantly below comparable communities. And that we found the reason that the salaries were artificially inflated was because of the Quinn bill, which is educational credits. So the contract adjusts the base salaries over a 3-year period and includes a cost of living adjustment, and we've also eliminated all sick time buyback from all new hires. The MBTA, we had a public meeting with the MBTA regarding the closure of the commuter rail on weekends to put in that positive rail control, as well as the timelines of when the commuter rail will be shut down because of the Beverly Bridge. And this is what they sent to us this week. They still haven't given us a lot of options, and it's going to be very difficult for residents in Newburyport to be taking buses all the way to Salem, and then from Salem to get into work. So C&J offered to help, but unfortunately that was not part of the conversation with the MBTA. So it's going to be a difficult couple months for commuters, and there is a number here to call if you have questions. I did ask if they could at least run one morning bus and then maybe one in the evening to take people to Haverhill to take that train in, but I haven't received a response on that yet. Under the school district, the superintendent's strategic plan, I gave you a copy of that with the update tonight. This was a very lengthy, collaborative community process that resulted in a new mission statement, value statement, strategies, objectives, and action plans. The school district, the school committee, and each of our schools now are all jointly working together on the same goal, district goals, same action plans as we move our schools forward. I would also like to extend my congratulations to the 3 recipients of awards this year from the Newburyport Education Foundation, Ray Nippies, Tunisaba, and MK Benatti Jewelers. The Intermodal Facility Garage, again, my thanks to all the councilors who voted in support of funding the land for the acquisition for the Intermodal Facility Garage. The remaining items, the remaining item that was in question in the P&S at the time of your last meeting was removed, and we anticipate having all the last remaining documents sent to FTA late tomorrow to hit the June 30th deadline. We are adjusting the scope of John Burke's work on downtown parking based on your input and hope to finalize a start date over the next couple of weeks. A couple events that occurred since our last meeting. We had a change of command at Station River Merrimack. Captain Claudia Gelzer, who is Director of Operations of Sector 1 Boston, oversaw the change of guard where Chief DeLodge was replaced by Chief Patrick Brown. Sail Boston, every once in a while, there comes a Betty with this job, and I happened to be invited by the Coast Guard to sail on the Eagle to lead all the tall ships in last Saturday, and those came and took pictures with us. So it really was a wonderful experience, and was very grateful to have the opportunity to do so. State Auditor Suzanne Bump invited several female mayors to have lunch with her last week to talk about unfunded mandates, infrastructure issues, the kinds of things that her office oversees. I really appreciated the time. And tomorrow I have been asked to present at the National Oceanographic and Atmospheric Administration Fisheries Community Resiliency Workshop on what the city has been doing in terms of resilience and storm surge. I will report back to you on how that goes. And lastly, I will be hosting the mayors, statewide mayors from across the cities in our Commonwealth on Wednesday for our meeting. So thank you for your time. Any questions?
Councilor Z.
Mr. President, thank you. Let me start here. We're about 2/3 of the way through our Evergreen timeline. I know we have 90 days. We're at about 60 days now. Do we still feel we're confident that we will fit in all the things we would like to do within the 90 days? And any update on when we might have some data to look at? I know there was something else. Oh, that soon.
I'm hoping that we should have some more information by the end of this week.
Okay.
But definitely by our meeting on the 10th.
Okay.
The 10th.
And I do want to ask about the garage. I don't know if anybody needs to leave the room. I'll leave that to folks. But does this update imply that the seller has accepted our purchase and sale?
Yes.
They have signed it?
Yeah, well, they were still tweaking some language in the escrow agreement, which is going to be attached to the purchase and sale agreement. But yes, they have.
Okay, so could we be forwarded a final copy of whatever they have?
Yes.
Okay, that would be great.
We're happy to do that.
Thank you.
Is that it will become a public document
Sure.
also, because that's something that it hasn't really been.
Councilor Devlin.
Thank you.
My pleasure.
Madam Mayor, just, there was it says on the intermodal facility garage, it says the remaining item, and you had actually said items, and that's interesting because I had written that next to it too. Did they accept, there was more than one change in there, did they accept all of our changes? Okay. And then by saying the documents are going to go to FDA, does that include a signed purchase and sale agreement?
No, they don't need the purchase and sale
Okay.
agreement, but they need to know that it has been, actually, they're asking for us not to sign the purchase and sale agreement until the FDA funds have dropped, but I don't think we can do that because of our timelines.
Sure.
But that doesn't mean we'll be moving forward on it, it just means that we'll be in the different period of due diligence, but
Will we be able to see the signed PN, I mean, the unsigned PNS with the changes in it?
Yes.
Or even there?
Yes, yes.
Prior to the city signing it, correct?
yes.
Okay, thank you.
Councilor Junto.
I have 4 questions on 4 different items. I'm sorry, you gave us so much. So, the new Parker Street sidewalk I saw was made of asphalt.
Because it's not a sidewalk. What's it called? It has a different name, so therefore it could be asphalt. It was much too wide to do concrete, and it also would be problematic for those with ADA accessibility. With the concrete, is what I've been told, that wide, and so that's why it's asphalt.
Okay, because you put it as a sidewalk.
I did.
Looks like a sidewalk.
It's not a sidewalk, but it's a different name because of this width. I will correct that.
Okay.
It's a way.
It's not a way.
The West End easement, I believe I remember that being mostly in Ward 6. But if I could get an update on that, just because President O'Brien and I share the West End, and I'm sure we're going to get phone calls, and a lot has passed, I'm sure, since the last time I've seen anything.
It was something that I think started 15, 17 years ago. We started talking about these West End easements to gain our DPS step access to the sewer lines. So we will certainly provide you with, I'm just sort of giving you an update, we're waiting on one more easement. We have the draft order, and then you'll be receiving a full package of all the information at your next meeting.
Okay.
The problem started when Cherry Hill was sold and they cut down all those trees. That's when the drainage problem started.
It got worse.
And that's when people in Phillips Drive and all the Ryan Road got water for the first time in their lives.
We have one sewer line running under someone's home.
You do? Okay.
Yes. So this is part of why this had to happen, so that we can gain access to the city's infrastructure.
And part of this is all the way by like Longfellow, in that area too. Okay, with you. Okay.
It goes right out to the complex that DePiro built right on the edge of the West Newbury line on 113 too.
Okay. That is important to know about that work.
Absolutely. Be sure to make sure that there's additional information, even before it hits the packet that goes to the council president and you, councilor.
Okay. Stormwater. A lot of fancy verbiage there, but is this come down to what we've heard about months back about residents being charged for the rainwater that hits their roof?
Unfortunately, yes. And we haven't set up a utility. We've looked at other communities. This is very complex, but we have to figure out how to pay for this. We push back as mayors. We've had meetings with the EPA. We've had meetings with the DEP. We've talked to the governor about this. We feel that this is another major unfunded mandate, and the estimate is somewhere around $500,000 in equipment the city is going to be needing in order to test all the outflow that's going into the river as a result of all these stormwater requirements. I mean, we've been working on this all along. For example, in the early stages, it was to separate the CSO, the combined stormwater and sewer lines. That we've done that throughout the city, there's been a clean catch bases. There's certain things that we've had to do every year to stay current with our permits, but now this is a big step up in terms of the next level of MS4. So that's why I think it would make sense for us to set up a workshop so that everybody could understand and we could work together to figure out how we're going to implement this. John Eric's been doing a lot of work on this.
Okay. I can see how popular that one's going to be.
Yeah, I know, I've been pushing this off as long as I possibly can, while we're still doing the work, but in terms of, I know other communities have already set up another stormwater utility, and that's the last thing we really want to do. But if that's our only choice, we're going to have to decide to do that together as a community.
Okay. And lastly, 115 Water Street, at any point will the city council have input on what happens at that site?
It's typically not the process. Certainly before we, in terms of coming here and asking for a particular vote, but certainly your input is always important in any decision that we make, so that once we come to probably close to final decisions regarding what we think makes the most sense for that property, then we do a public meeting and invite, all of you will be invited to come. I certainly will make sure that you know of that information ahead of time, and if you can't make the meeting and want to just give me directly your feedback or any support, that's fine.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Sorry, I had one other one. The Waterfront Trust NRA settlers and city meetings. What's the projected timeline? Let me give you a little background why I'm asking this question. One of the reasons, about the only reason I'm voting for or I might vote for the construction funding for the garage is I want to get parking off the waterfront. And one of the reasons I was eager to pass and hope, unanimously pass our recommendation was so that this could happen either before or contemporaneously with the funding of the garage. I don't want to vote to fund the garage and then have a year pass by. So one of the things that did come up was the pop-up park area and the city funds. If that's why we didn't have that in there. If that's a chit that needs to be given away, I'd like to see this completed, and I don't think we should fall on our sword over bathrooms in a visitor center in today's day and age.
Trust me, we're not. That's probably the least of the concern. We came to the table at our first meeting with a list of 15 things, and we're concerned that we weren't going to have consensus, and we found out we had 14 out of 15. And then we've now reached the point where, I have publicly said that I think the city should have taken a piece of this pie, but there was a unanimous, when the NRA was divided up. However, you did your ad hoc group, you had input from all the stakeholders, you had a unanimous vote on the council to support all of the property going to the Waterfront Trust. So that's what I will proceed with, that vote and that consensus, and I think that really is the job of the mayor, is to do that. And one other comment, I can assure you that if it wasn't for removing cars off of the waterfront, I would not have wanted this headache for anything in the world.
I'm concerned about the language about the pop-up park area still under discussion for development of a future visitor center and public restaurant.
It's not a discussion that is challenging or problematic. It's just, the discussion really is, should the Waterfront Trust get that too, and then we'll work out a deal with the city. So there's no, kind of like, well, we're not moving forward unless this decision is made. It really is very amicable, where we are in this process. And certainly, this is not going to hold up the process at all.
Okay, because that's not what I'm hearing from members of the Waterfront Trust or Committee for an Open Waterfront, that this shouldn't be an issue anymore, and it wasn't an issue for the city council.
No,
okay.
It really isn't an issue. So,
Okay.
I really don't see this as holding up the process at all. I think the big piece for
I guess
the
the
NRA
question was
to
the
dissolve is
timeline.
is the tidelands issue. And so that information won't be received until August by the attorney that the NRA has hired. So I would like to see that we have some type of disposition in place by the fall about a timeline for the NRA to dissolve.
Okay.
And we're moving forward on the documents in terms of, because we've identified all of, some of the difficult parameters. Oh, one other piece, Councilor Zenwood, if you would be so kind to just kind of provide me with a little more detail about that chart on your consensus plan.
The financial chart?
Sure. we just we can't quite get our head around what you were thinking about there as we were reviewing that. So, as I said, we're meeting on the 11th, and if you could just provide a little more detail to your thought process, that would be very helpful, I think, in our review process.
No problem.
Oops, sorry. Thank you.
Thank you all. Appreciate your questions and feedback.
Yeah.
The consent agenda this evening consists of the approval of the minutes for June 12, 2017. There are three transfers. Transfer number 37, highway labor, 40,000.
Highway robbery.
Highway salary facilities, maintenance, 7,000. To highway streetlight electricity, 47,000. To go to budget finance. Transfer 38, school expenses, 42,000. School lunch, same amount. Budget finance. And transfer 39, general budget, 20,876 to police salary officer, same amount, again, budget finance. There are 5 communications. First communication, number 78, letter from Stephen B. Comley regarding nuclear safety, received and filed. Communication 79, aprons, readings by design, license and permits. Communication 80, letter regarding dedication of public space to recognize citizens, neighborhood and city services. Communication 81, fill the booth for muscular dystrophy, 83 to 85, 2017, public safety. Communication 82, bed race, August 3rd, 2017, public safety. There's one reappointment, appointment number 48, Kimberly Lowe, 18 Woodman Way, number 3, to the Housing Authority until 5/1/2022.
Motion to approve?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. I should say this point, and Councilor Cameron. There was a vote on...
I'm with you, I'm just on mute, and move forward to turn it off.
Would that be a yes? And is Councilor Connell on the line? It looks to me like he's...
Fell asleep.
Thank you.
Okay. Move on to the regular agenda. Take a motion to the final mayor's update.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Councilor Cameron, yes?
Okay, we'll move on to appointments. Second reading.
Appointment number 44, Madeline Nash, 19 Arlington Street, Affordable Housing Trust until 5/1/2018. Appointment number 46, Richard A. Eaton, 4 Horton Street, the Trust Fund Committee, 7/1/2020. Appointment number 47, Richard J. O'Brien, 41 Olive Street, Trust Fund Committee, 7/1/2020.
Motion to approve.
Collectively?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Councilor Devlin.
Yes.
Councilor Earl.
Yes.
Councilor Eigenman is absent. Councilor Johnson.
Yes.
Councilor Thompson.
Yes.
Councilor Bogan.
Yes.
Councilor Z.
Yes.
Councilor Cameron.
Yes.
Councilor Connell. Councilor Cronin.
Yes.
Councilor O'Brien.
Yes. Move on to orders.
Mr. President, may we take the next two collectively?
Motion to take order 39 and 40 collectively. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Order 39 is the appointment of William Paving, 29 Collins Street, Seabrook, New Hampshire, water sewer drain contractor. Appointment number 40 is Tim Zanelli Excavating, 299 Main Street, North Reading, again, contractor.
Motion to refer to public utilities?
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Councilor Cameron.
Order 41.
Order 41 is the recommendations for the FY18 appropriations Community Preservation Committee. Mr. President, would you like me to read the project title and recommendation?
Yes, just on
YWCA Women's Residence, $26,500. Community Building Rehabilitation, $129,500. Affordable Housing Trust Fund, request $100,000. Recommendation $75,000. Restoration of Cushing Carriage House windows, $14,500. Central Congregational Steeple, request $100,000. Recommendation $75,000. Newburyport High School exterior woodwork restoration, $174,610 requested, $125,000 recommended. People's United Methodist Church restoration, $20,000 request, $8,700 recommended. Open Space Reserve Fund, $150,000 request, $100,000 recommended. Gateway Trees Phase 2, $13,000 request, same amount recommended. Fullfield Track Renovation Phase 2, $150,000 requested, $60,000 recommended. Cooper City Rail Trail Phase 3, $75,000 request, $75,000 recommended. Slate and Copper Restoration, $30,434 request, $26,000 recommended. City Hall bond payment, $161,920, same amount recommended. Open space bond payment, $102,480 request, same amount recommended. NHS stadium bond payment, $124,980 request and recommended. Cherry Hill soccer field bond payment, $7,690, same amount recommended. Administrative cost, $12,000. And that is it.
Refer to Budget and Finance.
Second.
discussion.
Just in case, for ease of posting a discussion committee of the whole as well, in case other folks want to join, discuss. Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye. Council Cameron in favor? Thank you.
Aye.
Thank you again.
Move on to ordinances, I guess. Second.
We have a number of second readings. The first ordinance is ordinance number 11. That's regarding transient vendors, hawkers, peddlers, effective January 1st, 2018. It is a 9-page document.
Motion to approve on second reading?
Second.
What was the motion?
Motion to
Motion to
approve on
approve.
second reading? Thank you.
Any discussion? Roll call?
Councilor Devlin?
Yes.
Councilor Earl? Yes. Councilor Junta?
Yes.
Councilor Tonto?
Yes.
Councilor Vogel?
Yes.
Councilor Z?
Yes.
Councilor Cameron?
Yeah.
Councilor Cronin?
Yes.
Councilor Connell, you are not there? I should have asked publicly. You are there? I see you dialed in. Council President O'Brien?
Yes. Move on to ordinance
Three.
Ordinance 3 is a second reading. It is submitted by Councilor Hagan.
Motion to approve on second reading.
Second.
It's regarding substantial hardship of variance.
Do we need a waiver since the person that,
Mr. President, because
the person that presented is not here?
That was
That was the case.
Motion to
Yeah.
waive the rules if the sponsoring council is not here.
Second.
All in favor? Thank you very much.
Point of order. That was also true of the last.
No, Councilor Devlin.
So, yes, as long as one's present, but we don't have another person on this one? No, we
I
don't.
check something now and then.
I'm sorry, the first one that was,
Me. Councilor Vogel.
Any discussion?
roll call. Councilor Devlin?
Yes.
Councilor Earl?
Yes.
Councilor Junta?
Yes.
Councilor Tonto?
Yes.
Councilor Vogel? Yes. Councilor Z?
Yes.
Councilor Cameron? Councilor Cameron? Councilor Cronin? Yes. Council President O'Brien? Yes.
Councilor Cameron is a yes. I keep getting dropped off.
Thank you, Council. Item 4. Second reading again is the zoning ordinance regarding the administration enforcement. It is a 7-page change to existing paragraph 6, 3E, section 10B.
Second.
It is
I can move.
submitted by Councilor Ivey. Yes.
Motion by Council Cronin, who seconded it? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion approved?
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call.
Councilor Devlin? Yes. Councilor Earl?
Yes.
Councilor Junta?
Yes.
Councilor Conti?
Yes.
Councilor Vogel? Yes. Councilor Z?
Yes.
Councilor Cameron?
Yes.
Councilor Cronin? Yes. Council President Brown?
Yes. Ordinance was 6? 5.
Ordinance 6.
Second reading, right?
Animal waste.
Motion to suspend the same rule?
That is Councilor Ivey.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion to approve?
Motion approved.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call vote.
Councilor Devlin?
Yes.
Councilor Earl?
Yes.
Councilor Junta?
No.
Councilor Tonto?
Yes.
Councilor Vogel? Yes. Councilor Z?
No.
Councilor Cameron?
Yes.
Councilor Cronin?
Yes.
Council President O'Brien?
Yes.
Second reading passed.
That's the one. Ordinance 8.
Mr. President, maybe we could take the next 4 collectively.
Okay, I'd like to speak to the first one a little bit. Maybe the last 3.
Ordinance 8, zoning ordinance regarding bed and breakfast use. Change to the table of use regulations.
Motion.
By Councilor Tonto.
Motion to refer to planning and development.
Second.
Planning and development. President. I have received a lot of complaints about short-term rentals in the city for a number of uses. There also is a lack of uniformity between the way we treat traditional bed and breakfasts and the newer Airbnbs. So I put this together with Councilor Vogel and some assistance from the Ward 2 councilor, and we're putting it out there. I've gotten a lot of feedback on it already. I'd like to send this to committee, have a full vetting of it from all sides. There are many different perspectives on this. I'd urge all of you to have any constituents to urge them to attend and to give their input, and we'll work on this. This is something that I think is badly needed in the city, and we need to address it.
I'm sorry.
Committee of the whole? Well,
Yes, certainly.
Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye. Councilor Cameron?
Yes.
Mr. President? May I, on the last, the dog bag ordinance, I actually, I don't know what the process is, but I just was worried that if I voted no with fewer people here, that it would kill it without the sponsor here. I didn't want to do that, but I actually registered a no at the first reading. So long as it'll still pass, I would like to change my vote to no. It should have been no. That's what I did on the first reading.
He's on the prevailing side. He can ask for a revote.
It would be a motion to reconsider.
Then motion to reconsider.
Second.
Just make sure, I just want to make sure I'm on the right ordinance number.
Let's do the bed and breakfast first, and then we can do that.
Oh, I thought we were done with that. I was just going to the committee, though.
We didn't vote yet.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh, whoops.
Ordinance number 6, Mr. Clerk.
Your intentions were good.
Ordinance number
8. We voted on that. It's his cow?
Went to committee.
Went to committee. Do we have a final vote?
Yes.
All in whole? Okay. Okay, so go ahead.
We're back to ordinance number 6, motion to reconsider, which was made by Councilor Devlin, seconded by...
Second. Do we need to vote on that?
All in favor?
Aye.
Councilor Cameron, that's a vote to reconsider ordinance number 6, yes or no?
Yes.
I'd like to register a no.
One no. So now that matter's back on the floor, ordinance number 6.
Motion to approve. Do we have to suspend again? Motion to approve. Second.
Already suspended.
It's already out.
Yeah, it's already suspended.
Yeah, it's already suspended.
Any discussion? Further discussion? Take a roll call again, I guess.
The motion to approve ordinance number 6. Councilor Devlin.
No.
Councilor Earls.
Yes.
Councilor Junta.
No.
Councilor Tontar.
Yes.
Councilor Vogel.
Yes.
Councilor Z.
No.
Councilor Cameron.
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Cronin.
Yes.
Council President O'Brien.
Yes.
That's it.
May I suggest we take 9, 10, and 11 collectively?
We have to suspend the rules for 9.
Motion still passed.
Yes. 6-3.
I'm trying. All right. Never mind. I tried twice. 2 strikes and you're out here.
10 for 11, I think.
Ordinance number 9. Ordinance number 9, Mr. President, is a zoning ordinance regarding agricultural conservation districts, changing the dimensional controls submitted by Councilor Hyde.
Motion to waive the rules since the sponsor's not
Second.
with us this evening.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Go ahead.
Motion to refer to Planning and Development and Committee of the Whole.
Second. Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Councilor Cameron.
Aye.
Aye, aye, aye.
Yeah.
10 and 11 together, please, Mr. President. If you see fit.
11 is still Jared.
11 still Jared. So that one wasn't that's not my fault.
That's right. Ordinance 10, 0 for 3, better than the Red Sox. Hanlon Ramirez at the bat.
Number 10 is submitted by Councilors Cronin, Reed, and Tontar. It supports to change the zoning map, single-family and two-family lot area, lot coverage, and open space.
Motion to refer to Planning and Development and Committee of the Whole.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Councilor Cameron. Thank you.
Aye.
Pretty much. Want to try this one collectively with the South?
Ordinance 11 collectively with Ordinance 11.
And motion to suspend the rules to take the reading? Second.
Councilor Cronin?
Yes. Motion to amend ordinance 11.
We still have to vote on whether we
Got to suspend the rules first.
Suspend the rules.
So we have a motion to waive rules by
Myself.
Second.
Vogel, second one's over by Councilor Z. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Now, motion to approve?
Councilor Cameron?
motion approved.
I forgot that's Councilor Cameron. He wants to vote on that.
Mr. President, motion to amend.
I'm sorry, Councilor Cameron on the waiver. Thank you.
First, second.
An amendment.
An amendment.
What's the amendment?
First, second, thank you.
Motion to amend the sponsorship to add Councilor Cronin as co-sponsor on this.
Second.
Second.
Aye.
To refer to Planning Development Committee of the Whole.
Second.
Got to go somewhere, right?
Any further discussion? Yes, a motion approved. Oh, that's one of the, I'll resend that. So approved.
Yeah, okay. Do we have a motion to approve?
Motion to refer to Planning Development and Committee of the Whole.
Second.
As amended. Thank you. Bless you.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Aye for yes, thank you.
Move on to
motion to remove Communication 64 city clerk contract.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Motion to approve.
Second?
Just briefly, we considered this in Budget and Finance. We had the Human Resource Director provide internal comparables that compared the clerk's position to other department heads in terms of responsibilities and workload. We also had comparable data before the committee on what city clerks in other communities get paid, and there were only two of us present. We voted 2-0 in the affirmative.
And I did sign the contract with the city clerk.
Yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Okay, thank you.
Did we get? Motion to remove Order 28, gift acceptance. Second. Sunscreen dispenser.
All in favor?
Aye. Motion to approve. Second. We had this in committee. This is the result of a pilot program in Boston that's being expanded, and also the Community Health Network area through Anna Jakes in their surveys identified skin cancer, melanoma, as being higher than you would expect in this area among both men and women. Therefore, the grant, which was put forward by the Public Health Department, will provide 5 dispensers of sunscreen, and that will be out in Plum Island Point, at the Harbor Master Facility, Perkins Park, Cashman Park, and on the rail trail. And the funding is for 1 year. There are graduate students who will be monitoring the dispensers and filling them. And this is an entirely a public awareness campaign. Skin cancer is a serious problem. People die from it, and it's entirely preventable with the use of sunscreen. So we voted 2-0 in committee to support it.
With one at each end, will it be? Is that what they're talking about? Do you know offhand?
I'm sorry.
The rail trail would be one at each end of the rail trail, or?
I think there's just going to be one. We didn't discuss exactly where that would be. Originally going to be 2, and then they changed it to one in Perkins Park and one for the rail trail.
Okay, I don't have that. Bless you. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you.
Councilor Cameron?
In favor. Thank you.
Next.
Motion to remove order number 31, the fiscal year 18 revolving fund order.
Motion to approve. Oh,
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? Councilor Cronin? No?
Yes, on count 2839, which is downtown parking, the amount is $750,000. I'd like to amend that to be $500,000.
Second.
Discussion on the amendment? Council.
Discussion on the, currently, and let me get this, that line is at, $589,000 in the current fiscal year, with the anticipation that between now and when we close out the fiscal year, there'll be another $95,000 in spending, but contractual to the NRA, personnel costs, purchasing costs. So in this fiscal year, we're going to pay $675,000. And that's on just the normal expenditures, including approximately $100,000 for capital improvements, which is warranted. So I don't think the $750,000 as was requested is unreasonable, given that we're going to spend pretty close to $675,000. That's a 10%. Amount over. Next year we could easily, spend more. We don't, now you need it certain in these funds. You don't necessarily know what you're going to be spending year to year. You don't know how the income's going to come in. You don't know how the expenditures are. They're lumpy over a 12-month period. So I would urge you to vote no in reducing this, especially that much lower. I don't think we could make the contractual obligations.
Councilor Cronin.
The reason that I've done this or asked for this is severalfold. First off, right now we have a $750,000 cap, but in reality, we have almost $1 million department. And there should be, when I say oversight, I'm not looking at the parking clerk or the people that work under him or any mismanagement in that vein. But for 10 years, we have been spitballing this program. This needs more oversight from the city council. This should be a regular budget item that we as city councilors approve during the regular budget cycle, and this certainly, if we bring it to $500,000, doesn't mean that's all we can spend. It just means we have to bring a transfer back to City Council, where City Councilors who are in charge of fiduciary responsibility can evaluate what we are doing with this large chunk of money. This is the most money that we're sitting out there in a non-enterprise fund. And even in enterprise funds, we're taking transfers on a normal basis, on a regular basis. So I would ask you to seriously consider an amendment and also seriously consider some way in which this becomes a budget line item and not just a $1 million checking account that this body has no control over.
Councilor Z.
I wanted to rise in support of the amendment. I think some of the points have already been brought up, but just to add a couple of things that I sat in on the committee meeting as a non-member of Budget and Finance. But number one is we did ask if there was some way to place a cap on individual expenditures so that we could have a dollar limit by which would have to come to the council, say if you want to spend $100,000 or $200,000. Apparently that's not possible. Just speaking for myself, I'm actually deeply uncomfortable with the whole concept of a revolving fund in a lot of ways. I understand the concept behind it, but the challenge I have, and I've expressed this in the meeting as well, and actually we have made strides in improving it, but there are several crossovers between revolving funds and the city budget with respect to, for example, salaries and so forth, so it's very difficult sometimes to tell if the revolving fund is self-supporting or not, and that does have an implication because a lot of these are supported by fees. So to get a real good grasp on whether the fees are in the right place, I think having a revolving fund control is very important. So with all that said, there's really nothing else we can tinker with but essentially the limit. So that's number one. Number two is I don't think there's a huge practical problem with lowering the rate. As the Ward 3 councilor mentioned, you can spend more than that. It just has to come before us. We're here every 2 weeks, generally speaking. We approve transfers all the time. And in fact, there was one expenditure this year I know that was of concern, that some of the downtown paid parking money was used towards the Harbor Master facility. Granted, it was a small payment, but we discussed that in committee as well. In trying to write a description for a fund that could possibly encompass all the different things that a fund could be used for is basically impossible. So while I understand that some have said, well, just edit the description of the fund until you're happy with it, I just don't see how that's possible. And the final comment I'll make is just to echo another comment, which I feel very strongly about. If we had any other department come to us and say we've basically got $1 million of revenues and gave us nothing about it, whether it's even the general purchase of services, personnel services, and so forth that we see in our regular budget, I think we'd have a real tough time with it. So there's a lot in flux right now with the parking, and I think this is a good time for us to make sure that we step back for a moment, have a limit. We're happy to approve, and I think most folks do know that the bulk of the money that comes out of this fund goes to the Waterfront Trust and the Newburyport Redevelopment Authority for the use of their funds, in addition to some other things. So I hope you'll support the event or consider supporting it.
Yeah, me? Okay, thank you. And just to relive a little history for folks why this is probably a good idea to lower the limit is 4 years ago when we were all knocking on doors and the Green Street parking lot was being done over in August, there was clamoring throughout the city on why we would take the Green Street lot and take it out of service during the busy months. There was clamoring about why are we doing it at all? Why isn't the city council involved? Why did you approve this? How did the city council let this happen? Just to bring a little history back, and the answer is very simple. We had no control of it. I wasn't a city councilor at the time, but the city council at the time had no control of it. So maybe this gives you a little bit of control. And so think about it that way. If you're in this position 4 years ago and the Green Street lot was being proposed to be renovated in July and August, maybe you would have loved to have some input, but you didn't have any because of the way we're structured. So maybe this helps.
Anyone else? We've already talked. Anyone else would like to talk before we go over to Councilor Conta? Go ahead.
Yeah, I just think 500,000 is too low. I mean, we have operating expenses in the last fiscal year 16, 273,668 operating expenses. We know we're going to have those expenses. That's for personal services, purchase of services, professional and technical services, right? That's what it costs to run the parking operation. In fiscal year 66, we spent $55,900 approximately for downtown capital. It's that capital account, I think, that other councils are talking about that went toward the Harbor Master facility for the public restrooms that service downtown, and then earlier for the Green Street lot, which was 4 years ago before I was on the council as well, right? And then in fiscal year 16, it was $177,848, all right? Now, if you take that, and this year, we're about 480,000. Add the other 75,000, so you're at least 575,000 in things that we know we're going to have to pay. Yeah, we can do transfers for it, but we know we're going to have to do that. So I think 500,000 is too low.
Councilor Devlin?
Again, I rise in support of this. Mainly because the councilor from Ward 3 spoke to me about this, and this is a significant sum of money. This is what we do. We review expenditures. We're not saying that it can't be spent. The councilor from Ward 4's argument would apply to any of the budget items that we review. All the departments that we review during budget time are going to spend that money or something close to it in the following year, and yet we review it. And when they go over that budget, they have to come to us for a transfer to pay for something. A lot of times it's reasonable and expected, and we pass it on a regular basis. Again, this is a large sum of money, and the Ward 3 councilor pointed this out to me. We get people coming to us asking us questions, and we don't have those answers because we don't have any control over that part of the budget. So, if we could do individual expenditures, and approve those on a case-by-case basis, I'd vote for that. We were told by Ethan Manning that that's not allowed. So the only way we can do this is to keep the limits low enough that we do have to, anything above that, we do have to be brought in, or else we have no control. And part of our control is, and part of our budget review process from a year ago is what helped form the budget this year that got passed unanimously, because people were aware in the departments that we were paying attention and we were going to ask a lot of questions. And that's all we're going to do for the downtown paid parking program, which is now people are going to say, we have to spend this money wisely, because if we go over $500,000, we're going to start getting questions asked of us by the city council. Thank you. Roll call. The motion.
Amend to $500,000, item 2839, downtown paid parking. Councilor Devlin.
Yes.
Councilor Earls.
No.
Councilor Junta.
Yes.
Councilor Tonto.
No.
Councilor Vogel.
No.
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 Councilor Z.
Yes.
Councilor Cameron. Councilor Cameron, did you hear me? That's a motion to amend to $500,000.
Point of order, if we don't have communication, can we table this?
No, it has to be approved before, it has to be passed
Councilor
before July
Cameron?
1st.
It seems like he just dropped. He's having trouble, I think, staying behind this.
We still haven't.
That would be up to the president. I don't necessarily think it automatically tables an item.
There's a point of order, I believe, we have to pass on the revolving funds before July 1st, right?
Councilor Cameron, I'm having a little bit of a phone difficulty. I vote no on the amendment.
You vote no on the amendment. Okay, thank you.
May I point of order?
Sorry.
How much of the discussion did he hear?
That's a good point. Councilor Devlin asked Councilor Cameron, how much of that discussion did you hear?
Pretty much all of it.
We did. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, I'm following. I'm having a unmuting problem.
Okay.
Amongst other problems.
So that would be no. Councilor Cronin?
Yes.
Council President O'Brien?
Yes.
So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Motion fails. Meeting 6. Motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
It's on the floor, I don't hear.
I thought that was amended.
Motion to approve the funding for all the others. Good.
Mr. President, may I ask the Finance Director a question? What is the implication if the revolving funds don't pass tonight for July 1?
If they don't pass tonight for July 1, there would be no appropriation. Therefore, we couldn't spend any money for any of these purposes until approved.
So if we approve them the first meeting in July,
Right, there would be no appropriation until the council approves. So I would not be authorized to spend any money until we have the appropriation from the council for these purposes.
in fiscal year 18.
Correct.
What was the vote, Mr. Clerk, if I may ask on that, the numbers?
Well, it was meeting 6, 5 yes.
4 no.
4 no.
Let's rock. There's a reasonable request. Let's go.
Good.
Motion to amend, motion to reduce it from 750 to 650.
Second. How much? I didn't hear that.
650.
It's trading. Is there a second?
Second.
I don't think we need discussion, but unless anyone wants it. Roll call.
It's a motion to amend paid parking revolving fund to $650. Councilor Devlin.
Yes.
Councilor Earls.
Yes.
Councilor Junta.
Yes.
Councilor Tonto.
Yes.
Councilor Vogel.
No?
Councilor Z.
Yes.
Councilor Cameron.
Yes.
Councilor Cronin.
Yes.
Council President O'Brien.
Yes.
Motion passes.
650, correct?
Motion to approve as amended?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
One no.
One no. Councilor Cameron.
Yes.
Thank you. May I ask who was the second on that?
I was the first.
I think I would.
Yeah, Councilor Cronin, yeah.
Motion approved as amended.
Motion to remove transfer 35.
Transfer 35.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion to approve.
Second.
This motion is recommended to us from the Water and Sewer Commissioners. They recommend this transfer of $675,000 in order that our sewer rates not have to be raised this year. So passing this will save the average household in Newburyport $79 a year. $79.
Pay for parking. I'll take it.
$7,900. No, 79.00. The committee, the two of us in committee, both of us recommended to vote yes.
And I'll just report for public utilities since the chair is absent. We also met on it. My memory serves correctly, it was a unanimous vote as well. And just for discussion, we did explore the concept of, what would it look like if we used this money to pay down some of the debt that obviously we are incurring substantial amounts for Graff Road and odor and so forth, but due to the long-term nature of the life of those assets and this makes sense to kind of smooth the curve out and keep it reasonable for folks as much as we can. Thank you.
Thank you.
And actually, is now be an okay time to take it out of public utilities as well, so we can dispose of it at the same time?
Sure.
So moved, Mr. President.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. You're very efficient.
Okay, the vote on the floor, motion on the floor is to approve.
Correct.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank
Councilor
you.
Cameron.
Bless you.
Bless you.
Cameron, will you speak?
Councilor Cameron, that was a motion to approve transfer number 35. Thank you.
Motion to remove transfer 36.
Second. And also from public utilities?
Second.
Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye to both of them.
To both, right.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Once again, this was a 2-0 vote in Budget and Finance. The transfers from water retained earnings to two projects. One is a meter replacement project, and the other is a water main replacement project. The water mains will be replaced in a process of being replaced now as needed. Some of them are 100 years old. And the meter we're setting the money aside. The whole city got new meters 2005, 2006. So the Water and Sewer Commissioners would like to set money aside so that the meters can be replaced as they need to be. I guess they last 10 to 15 years at the most. So again, we recommend that you approve.
It's also unanimous in public utilities. The only thing I wanted to add to the comments were we did query a little bit about the new meters, and they're going to be pretty cool, I think. They have a lot of, this was my questions, they have a lot of technology built into them, which will be neat. I've often wondered if I could see how much water I've used mid-month instead of having to wait for the bill to come. So the new ones they're going to do some betas and testing, but they're supposed to be internet connected, and there's hopefully going to be potential for the end customer to be able to go in at any time and see on a daily basis or however often. I don't know, I like to see data like that. So it should be neat and in due time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
All done, Mr. President. Thank you.
Council Cameron? Transfer 36. Thank you.
General government?
Motion to remove, if it's all right, collectively, orders 16 and communication 66? Is that
Second.
right?
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion to approve?
Second. Any discussion? Council Vogel?
Thank you, Mr. President. General government met. As you're aware, we share the animal control agreement, or we share the animal control officer with Newbury and West Newbury. And this year, we are extending the agreement for 2 years. And on top of it all, the West Newbury has agreed to pay just a little bit more because the compensation of the officer has gone up. So we recommended out of committee unanimously 3-0 that this be approved.
I just want to thank the Paul O'Brien, particularly for helping with the amendment. It was a comment, I think, that came up during the budget cycle, but we've been spending a lot of time discussing our relationships with other communities, particularly for shared services, so it's greatly appreciated that some attention's been given and that our colleagues in West Newbury will kick in a little bit more. And my only suggestion going forward, and maybe in 2 years, and that this amendment doesn't preclude this, is to make it a percentage so that it's just automatic and we don't have to think about it. And as the compensation goes up, it just ramps up with it, and then life will be hopefully easier for everybody. Thank you.
Just a point of clarification. Councilor, did you move to approve both?
Yes, I did.
Collectively. Joint education?
The school committee, oh, we didn't vote yet?
Nope. I thought we already did. Okay, my mistake. All in favor? Aye. Yes, we do. No, we don't.
Because it's an intermission.
No, we don't.
Folks, could I hear roll call, please?
Good.
It's a roll call on approving Order 16, Communication 66. Councilor Devlin?
Yes.
Councilor Earl?
Yes.
Councilor Junta?
Yes.
Councilor Tonto?
Yes.
Councilor Vogel? Yes. Councilor Z?
Yes.
Councilor Cameron?
Yes.
Councilor Cronin? Yes. Council President?
Yes.
Joint ed, so the school committee is off the month of July, so our next meeting will be the first Monday in August at Newburyport High School, room 118.
Thank you. License and permits.
Motion to remove communication 71.
Second.
Aye. Motion to approve. Thank you, Mr. President. This was in discussion at the license and permits. The paperwork is in order. We have a copy of it here. The application wasn't in the packet, but the application is here. The other question is the need for an insurance binder, and that question is still pending. The administration has indicated that if indeed an insurance binder is needed, it'll be provided. I guess because it's a city-owned property, they may or may not need the insurance binder. One of the things that we discovered in reading the application is that they want to attach the sign to a lamppost, and that, as you all are aware, doesn't fly by the statute, so that won't happen. And we approved the location of the sign. If you can picture the outcropping there where the seating is at the sea level now, to kind of draw that line, to call that the sidewalk line, if you will, and so that the two signs, because they normally have are advertising two different plays, the A-frames will be along that line, if that so describes it. If you have any questions, let me know. In committee, we voted 3-0 to approve.
All in favor?
Aye.
Councilor, just for clarification, vote?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yep.
Motion to remove Communication 72, please.
Second.
Councilor Cameron, did you approve on the signs for aprons? I did. Thank you.
I'm so in favor of it, you wouldn't believe it.
That's what we heard.
Motion to remove 72.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Go ahead.
Did I say motion to approve? I can't remember where we are.
Motion to approve now.
Okay. Discussion. Again, this was voted 3-zip in committee.
Last week, or a few weeks ago, when the Catholic Church wanted to be where we said no.
I'm sorry? I can't hear you.
A few weeks ago, when the Catholic Church wanted to be a Market Square, a place we said no, now we're saying yes here. What is the difference?
Well, I think that the difference was we didn't feel as though the standing up on the speaker's box was necessarily within our purview, but here there'd be a tent and so on and so forth. I don't know. It just came. It's a little bit more formal, in our opinion. I'm happy to receive and file it.
No. Just a question I had, that's all.
That was the difference.
Just didn't seem right, that's all.
Point of clarification. We actually didn't say no to the Catholic Church. I thought we said they don't need us. They don't need a permit from us. So
that's correct.
I think the consensus was the Catholic Church can go out and stand there with the priest and have an ask the priest.
Mr. President, one more point, just because I sat in that meeting. The church wanted to stand on property that was Parks Department controlled, so the chair was going to recommend that they actually go down to Market Square, which we control, and have their event there, if you will. Yep.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Councilor Cameron?
Yes.
Thank you.
Motion to remove Communication 74, please.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Motion to approve.
Second.
Thank you. There's actually a bit of an amendment, if you will. I don't know if it is appropriate to simply amend this or to make mention that they're making requests to put the sign at the top of In Street at Pleasant, and in committee, we rejected that idea, but indicated to them that they could put it in front of their establishment as per the ordinance. The question about putting it further away has raised a lot of questions, of course, or a lot of concerns, and there is discussion right now with the planning department about wayfinding and other signage to drive traffic, if you will, for people coming up in street to either direction onto Pleasant Street. So our recommendation is to send it back to the administrator, if you will, to let them know that they can put the sign in front of their facility, their business, and then we'll go further down the road when wayfinding comes along. Does that make any sense? So in committee, it was 3-zip in front of their their business.
Just a couple of questions, I guess, maybe for the committee. One is, do we have a timeline now on the wayfinding? Because we talked about this heavily when we did the sign ordinance, and I thought we were going to plow through and do it within a few months, and it's probably been a year now, I would guess. Maybe start with that.
If I may, Mr. As a matter of fact, I have some information that has come through, working back with the Chamber of Commerce and working with a local sign company and Newburyport. We've actually have sat down again. We actually have it in front of us. We actually have ideas and thoughts about 3 different places in town, this being one of them, to start putting some wayfinding in place for the businesses that are off the main track. So we're getting there.
And my only other question was the main concern in the committee that more people would request the same, the snowball effect?
Yes, the answer to that would be yes.
Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
I'm sorry, what is the vote on?
A-frame for Habakkuk.
A-frame in front of their
To
establishment.
receive and file?
To approve in front of their business.
Okay, so stick with the statute, basically.
Yes.
Councilor Cameron, approve?
Yes.
Thank you. No more, Mr. President.
Planning and Development? 150?
Yes, Mr. President. Motion to remove Order 19, stop sign at Temple and Fair.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion to suspend the rules and approve without the sponsor here.
Second. All in favor? Aye. No. It's his ward. Oh, you asked one no? That's correct. Thank you.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Thank you. I know Councilor Eigenman is ill tonight. The Ward 2 councilor has reached out to me on 2 occasions, hoping to get this approved tonight. That's the reason that I asked to have the rules suspended, and he would really like to see approval on this and get a traffic headache off his plate.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Councilor Cameron?
Yes.
Thank you.
Anything else?
Motion to remove communication 75 Block Party Dove Street.
Second. Aye. Opposed?
Motion to approve.
Discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Next.
Cameron, approve communication 75?
Yes.
Thank you.
Motion to remove Order 33, stop sign at Plummer Ave.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion to approve? Second. Wasn't there one already there? And they lost it?
There may have been one there. There's one, there's one at the bottom of Moulton, there's one at the bottom of Jefferson, there's one at the bottom of Ashland, there's one at the bottom of Coffin Street, I believe.
There was one at the bottom of Plummer, I can tell you that.
There might have been one there. It's been
When I
gone.
covered that ward, there was one there, I'm sure.
And also, I mean, because it's Secondary Street running into a main street, there should be a stop sign there. It must have been removed. That we have no record of, and so this will put it in the record. There should be one there.
I agree. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Councilor Cameron?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes. Go ahead.
Motion to remove Order 34, handicap parking space.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Go ahead.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Very briefly, it's a space near 40 Market Street. We have it set up, as you can see, so it's only going to be valid through June 30th, 2019. At that point, if the applicant wishes to renew, he certainly can. But if there's a move out or anything like that, it'll expire. This individual did reach out directly to me asking for some relief in parking.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Councilor Cameron?
Yes.
Thank you.
Public utilities?
Nothing, Mr. President.
Nothing. Rules Committee?
Nothing to report.
Good of the order. Council Zede?
I just wanted to provide the council an update quickly on Plum Island. The CZM grant, which I've mentioned to you a few times during Good to the Order, is coming to a close at the end of this month, and part of that grant was to produce a report by gathering as much input as possible on which paths were important, but there is also a physical component to it, and that is doing Moby mats, which are hard plastic mats to help define the paths and make them easier for people to utilize and to hopefully improve accessibility. So if you happen to take a ride down the island this July 4th, you will see some Moby mats out there, and I just wanted to let folks know that. Finally, there is a site visit planned as the final meeting for the grant on Friday, 1 o'clock, meeting at the Point parking lot, and it's just an opportunity to walk around and see the work and public, so anybody is more than welcome to come. This Friday, excuse me, I don't remember the date. Is that the 30th, maybe? Yeah, it is. I believe it's the 30th. Thank you, Mr. President.
Council Cronin?
Thank you. In public safety, communication number 48, there's a letter from Downtown Merchants regarding events. Councilor Eigenman, who is not here tonight, is holding a Ward 2 meeting on the third floor of the GROG to discuss this with interested parties on Thursday, the 29th at 5:30.
Thank you. Councilor Tonto.
Just wanted to remind people that this Saturday on July 1st is the Americana Rhythm and Roots Festival. It's a free festival in the Central Waterfront. The music runs from 3:30 to 8. It's a fundraiser donated for the Parks Conservancy, and the music will be extraordinary. People who attended it last year, this is the second year we've done it, said that it reminded them of the way concerts on the waterfront used to be 20 years ago in Newburyport. It was an event for Newburyporters. And again, this music, you shouldn't miss it. Thank you.
Thank you. Take a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Does everyone keep talking?
Thanks for your time. Thank you. Appreciate it.